What is up, YouTube and Facebook, since this will be going on both outlets? And welcome back to our channel. My name is Laniko Cash, for those of you who may be visiting with the channel for the first time. And if you are visiting with our channel for the very first time, let me just welcome you and thank you. And I just really want to thank everybody for coming by, to stopping by and, hearing, what we're saying, what we're doing today. Today it's Monday, and for many of you, you know that Ministry Monday is something that's been very near and dear to my heart because it's a ministry that God has given to me, where He, gives me using whatever experiences I have and a bit of the Word. I just share with whatever God has given to me for that week. So let's jump right in. So today, I know in my last video, I did let you know that I was like, well, maybe we'll do a Ministry Monday about, facing fears. Because in my last video, I think I kind of closed out the vlog with some thoughts on, us as people living through fear and living through pain and living through heartache and those kinds of things, and how we can do that. And I felt like God was really speaking to me about, using what I had gone through and using the experiences that I've had to share His Word and to help you to understand what it is that God really wants for our lives as believers. And so that's actually what we'll talk about today. We'll tag it Facing Our Fears. And I thought that this was really something really, really important, because most times when we go through things in life or when we face obstacles of various sorts, our fear can paralyze us and from moving forward, and it can paralyze us from really becoming and doing what God wants us to do. And getting stuck. And so I thought that this was very, very vital, and facing our fears is something that's very, very vital in the life of a believer anyhow. And so I thought I would just share. So I just made some notes. First of all, when God spoke this to me, I was like, okay, God, I heard God speaking about it, and the verse, it was a verse that just kept coming to my mind, and that verse was 2 Timothy 1:7, I believe it is, yeah. And then the scripture says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." That's the word. And I believe it's 2 Timothy 1:7, I believe it is. And so I just kept thinking about that, because it was like, okay, God, how do you want me to talk about, how we are to deal with the hardships in life, and how we are to be able to move from there and to grow, not just move on as if nothing happened, but to grow from it and to be better and not bitter. And so that's just the verse that just kept coming to my mind. So I was like, okay, let me look it up and see what God is really trying to tell me. And so, when I really look, and so I read the scripture, and it's one that I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, for of power, of love, and a sound mind. So I kept reading it, and I'm looking, and I'm like, wow. First thing I observed is that it's a very powerful verse, and we know it's a very powerful promise, and it's a really encouraging promise to us, because what it does is it lets us know God's expectation. So it's a promise from God, letting us know His expectation of how we are to live and how we are to be, part of how we are to be in this world. And so I guess for me, I just kept reading it. Okay, God has not given us a spirit of fear. Okay, so when we think about fear can keep us from doing all the things that, we foresee, or even all the things that all the visions that God gives us, or all the ideas that we have. Fear can keep us from doing that. Fear can also keep us in the fear of things happening to us again. And in my own particular situation, getting pregnant again sounded like a pretty scary idea. Like, okay, wait, no, let me just stop. Let me just breathe, because I don't know. And so in my own particular situation, it was fear. Again, it could have been fear. It was fear of, this happening again, the absolute worst happening all over again. And that even kept me from my own healing, actually. And so, but then I just kept hearing this verse: God did not give us a spirit of fear. And so what I guess we can remember, we can stand to remember from this verse is why it's so powerful is because God lets us know that anytime in our life where we experience any sort of fear, first of all, we know that that's not of God and that's not from God, because God didn't give us that. And this verse makes that very, very clear, that God did not give us the spirit of fear. So we are not, as believers, we are not to operate in fear. We just are not. We are not to operate in fear. And so then, but that second part is so powerful because it tells us what he does give us instead. He gives us the ability to have power. He gives us the ability to love. And love, if we know anything about love, we know that even in the book of Corinthians, it tells us that love has no fear. There is no fear in love. Perfect love, that is. And so, God giving us the ability, he did give us the ability to have power. He did give us the ability to love, to give and receive it freely without fear. But he also gave us the power or the ability to have a sound mind. And so that spoke volumes to me, like, and it's so it's so promising because we don't have to live in fear. We don't have to be fearful of anything. And so, but then I began to ask a question, because I was like, okay, what this verse doesn't do. It does a lot of things. It's very powerful, but what it doesn't do, it doesn't really tell us how do we get there. So how do we move then from if you are in a place of fear, if you are in a place of stagnation, and if you are in a place of being paralyzed and stuck, how do you move from the fear then? How do we move from the fear to having that power? How do we move then from fear to being able to love, giving and receiving love freely without fear? And most importantly, how do we get to a place where we're moving from fear to having a sound mind? Because that is ultimately God's will for our lives. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit today, how we get from that. And I'm speaking from my own personal experiences, and what God has revealed to me, the revelations that God has given to me about my own life and about my own, because trust me, y'all, I've been through some things that would feel like I'm never going to get through this. I'm never going to, like, what am I doing? What's happening? And so I'm speaking from my own personal experiences. And so by the way, I just made some notes because the way God gave me this, literally, he woke me up out of sound sleep the other night. And I can literally remember dreaming and just waking up. And so God gave me everything that I needed. And so I had to get up, had to write it down. And so that's what I'm looking at the notes that I made that God spoke to me. And so that's what I'll keep, from time to time, you'll see me looking at. But one of the ways in which we can answer that question, and one of the ways in which I want to answer that question right now, how do we move from the fear that God did not give us, but the power, love, sound mind? One of the ways in which we can do that is whatever it is that we fear the most. So think about whatever it is that you fear the most. Look at it. Speak it. Talk about it. There's no sense in hiding it. There's no sense in not dealing with it. And that's something that I I hope that we are helping other people, not only just for ourselves, but I hope that we are helping other people to be able to deal with life and to face life. Because so many times when things happen to us, we're ready to just like, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to, like, maybe if I just keep moving, we feel like maybe if we just keep moving and just keep going and not even, trucking through, then it will help. But the reality is, and that's been very powerful again in my own healing, whatever it is, look at it, speak it. Because what happens is when we speak our pains, when we speak our doubts, when we speak our fears, it makes whatever that is, it loses power. And so what happens is there's a transfer of power. And that happens when you speak what it is, instead of like, no, I'm just gonna not look at it, act like it's not there. I'm gonna tell you what happens when you speak that thing. The power that it would have had over you, that power is yielded to the power of God. And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you know that is very powerful. That's the most powerful thing on earth, is being able to give that power, yield that power that would have you stuck as a person, and for that power to be yielded to God's power, and so that God can then take it and God can transform it, because God is really the only one that has that kind of power to transform any fears, any doubts, any pains, any hurts, any deep-rooted things, any traumas, all of those things. And so the first point that I would really want to make with that is, whatever it is that you are facing, that you may be facing, and it could be the worst thing in your life, it could be the worst thing in history, it could be the worst thing ever, but speak it. I encourage you to speak it. And I know some people would encourage you and some ways of our society would encourage you to just pray about it, or just kind of, leave it at the altar or something, and leaving it at the altar, no doubt. But you got to learn to speak that thing, because so many times we don't do that. And we can't be afraid to look at it. We can't be afraid to speak it. And most importantly, something I want to add to that, a very, very powerful point, is we have to be willing to tell the truth about it. We have to be willing to tell the truth about it, okay? What did I say? I said no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much it goes against society's infamous don't ask, don't tell policy, because so many times people stay hurting because we have this society that doesn't want to hear about painful things, that doesn't want to hear about hurtful things, that doesn't want to hear about fearful things. And so we can't be afraid to tell the truth about it. I want to share an experience because this was probably one of the most important and most powerful, really, steps for me in my healing. Because originally, like when I first started going through grief, I was seeing a counselor who was like, okay, listen. She was looking at her watch and she's like, it's been 6 months. Why are you still crying? You're having what she called ruminating thoughts that just kind of are taking over. And it was very hurtful because it just shut me down. And I found myself not wanting to be honest with her about any of the real feelings, because there were real feelings I was having. I was really angry, really upset, really angry. And I just couldn't be honest with her because in my mind I was like, she's just gonna think I'm crazy. She's just gonna think I'm crazy. So I can't even. And so she didn't allow me to tell the truth about it. But when I found another counselor, I mean, godsend of a counselor and a therapist, that this therapist gave me something that was so powerful for me. This therapist gave me the room, the space to tell the truth about how I was really feeling. And I mean the raw gut truth about how I was really feeling. And that to me was the biggest blessing that, you know, that was the most powerful step I could have taken in my healing, was telling the truth about how I was really feeling. Like, I was really angry. I was really upset, but I just didn't have the space. I just wasn't given the space to do it, because people around me just kept saying, oh, it's no good for you to feel this way. People around me were, you know, encouraging me to just, you know, just keep going, just keep pressing. That's what we say. But the reality is, what I really needed was to be able to just tell the truth. And so I'm sharing that because, you know, I was in my healing, and I'm getting ready to, this book right here. I wanted to share this book with y'all. It's called Finding Hope When Life Goes Wrong. And it's by Norman. It's like actually like 3 authors, but the main one is H. Norman Wright. So very, very powerful book. Again, it's called Finding Hope When Life Goes Wrong. I discovered this early in my healing. And, well, not early, but when I started beginning to have that space to tell the truth about how I was really feeling, I stumbled upon this jewel right here. And I just wanted to share something out of it with you guys, because this was so powerful to me. Like, it was like breakthrough powerful. It was that powerful. So I'm gonna share it. So it's a poem. It's a poem that the writer wrote, and it just explains everything that I'm trying to say. That if I'm relaying it well, I'm relaying it well, great. But if I'm not, then this right here, yeah. So the poem is called I Told God I Was Angry. Here it goes. I told God I was angry. I thought he'd be surprised. I thought I'd kept hostility quite cleverly disguised. I told the Lord I hate him. I told him that I hurt. I told him that he isn't fair. He has treated me like dirt. I told God I was angry, but I'm the one surprised. What I've known all along, he said, you finally realized. At last, you have admitted what's really in your heart. Dishonesty, not anger, was keeping us apart. Even when you hate me, I don't stop loving you. Before you can receive that love, you must confess what's true. In telling me the anger you genuinely feel, it loses power over you, permitting you to heal. I told God I was sorry, and he has forgiven me. The truth that I was angry has finally set me free. Y'all, and you can go back and replay this if you want to, you know, and just to hear those words again. But I can't tell you how this really just relates to what I'm saying to you today and what God is saying to us today. You know, because I love how he, I'm sorry, I lost my place. I was trying to get back. Okay. And it's so many powerful nuggets in this poem. And when I found it, it offered me so much freedom, because that's what I'm talking about here. That is how we begin to move from fear, from having a fear about things and being bogged down with the pains and the hurts and things of our lives. That's how we move from that to having power, to being able to give and receive love, and then to be able to have a sound mind, to be able to move forward. This is one of the steps that it took for me. And I know that this is one of the steps that God, so I want you to hear that honesty. I'm gonna read that part again, because that was powerful. He says, this is God speaking. At last you've admitted what's really in your heart. Dishonesty, not anger, was keeping us apart. So he's telling us that it's not anger. God said, I can handle anger. Like, be angry at me. Hate me if you need to. Because let me tell you, I went through that. I hated God for a time. I really did. And I want y'all to rewind that and be like, wait, did she just say? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I hated God for a time. I did. And I felt the same way. but I just wasn't able to be honest about it at first. But it wasn't until I became honest about it and was like, God, this is why I feel this way. I don't even understand what in the world, and just began to be honest about my feelings, just like he said in the poem. It's dishonesty, not anger. So that lets you know that God honors honesty. He really does. He honors honesty. And so I want you to know that today, and I want you to be encouraged to know that whatever it is, you can tell God about it, and you can feel however you need to feel about it. You can say whatever you need to say about it, gut, honest, raw truth, and God is still going to love you. God is still going to love you. And so that poem was so powerful to me. It was like I found it at just the right time, because I was just getting that space finally to be able to just be honest and not have people think I was just crazy, but having given me the space to be honest. And so, man, that's just what I really, 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 really wanted to share with y'all today. So I'm going to end with this. I'm going to end with a question. So after hearing all of that, I just want to ask y'all a question. What is it that you are really feeling? What is it? What is it that you are really, and I mean really with like all caps, really, really feeling? What are you really feeling? Whatever it is, speak about it. Say something about it. Talk about it. Be honest about it. Because that, my friend, is how you truly can move, how we can move from fear that God did not give us, that spirit of fear, that's how we begin to move into having the power, having love, giving and receiving it freely, because love, it has no fear. And most importantly, being able to have a sound mind. So many times we stay stuck in where we are because we don't have a sound mind. We haven't had a sound mind. Something traumatic might have happened to us, or something hurtful might have happened to us. Something painful, something deeply painful might have happened to us. And sometimes if we're not careful, we can stay stuck there. But I want you to remember 2 Timothy. God did not give us a spirit of fear. What he did give us, was the ability to have power, was the ability to have love, and was the ability to have a sound mind. And so, if your truth is a fear of trying again, trying anything, whatever it is, again, something you might have tried and you might have failed, something you might have tried and it didn't go well, something you might have tried and you really wanted it and it didn't happen. If your fear is trying again, speak it. I mean, if your fear is, of getting back out into the work world, maybe because you were hurt in one job, maybe because you were hurt at one church, and you are afraid, that has made you afraid to try something new or to try again. Speak that thing. Talk to God about it. Know that He loves you, and know that no matter how honest your feelings become, you are not crazy. You are not losing it. It's okay if you hate God. It's okay if you are angry. It is okay if you are severely frustrated. It's okay. And maybe somebody needs to hear that today. Maybe somebody needs to know that it is okay. It really is. Like, you can breathe. You can wipe the sweat from your brow. You can even tell the people who try to tell you, like, no, you can't question God. No, you can't say this. No, you can't feel that. You got to stay away from that. Do you, boo? Okay, because that is the path to healing. So I pray that something that was said today would touch your heart. I pray that something that God has revealed to me has really touched you and has even helped you to rethink something or think about something in a different way, or approach something in a different way. Hope something was said that moved you, that will help you begin to move from that fear to power, love, and sound mind. If you like this video, if you like the things that were said, hit that like button. And subscribe. You know, come along this journey. I will be back probably a little bit later this week to give y'all an update, because there has been some updates. And so I will be back a little bit later this week to give you all some other updates and things. But in the meantime, this is Ministry Monday. And no, I have not forgot. This is still my prayer for you. My prayer for all of you is that God will meet you where you are, and that you would allow him to bring you up to where you need to be. And so no, I haven't forgotten my prayer for y'all. My prayer is still the same. And I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day, a great Monday, because I know Mondays can feel a little sluggish. But hopefully this word picked you up a little bit. Hopefully this word, gave you something to help put a pep in your step for the day. I love y'all. I'm so glad that y'all came by, and I will talk to y'all later. All right, bye.